This book will make you wish magic was real and that you had your own island cottage to escape to. Hey there, book lovers. I'm here with my review of The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst for you. You might recognize this one from my spooky season book list video, but I've included a link to that one in the description in case you missed it. I read the physical copy of this book from my local library, but it's available in whatever format you prefer. This is book one in an interconnected standalone series that is set in the same world where each book focuses on a different person in a different location in that world. The Spell Shop is a fantasy romance that was released in July 2024. The Spell Shop is about sheltered librarian Keela and her assistant, a magically sentient spider plant named Kaz. Keela has spent years caring for the Empire's spellbook collection, which by law is only accessible to the elite nobility rather than the entire population. When a revolution begins and the great library where Keela lives and works begins to burn, they're forced to flee. She and Kaz save as many of the spellbooks as they can carry in their rush to escape the flames. They end up fleeing to the one place that Keela never expected to return, her childhood home on the outer island of Caltray. Once there, her hopes of living a quiet, secluded life without drawing anyone else's attention are soon dashed when she realizes that her family's cottage needs more work to make the place livable than she can do on her own. Not to mention, some of her new neighbors are a bit nosier than she anticipated. Needing a way to earn an income, Keela decides to open the island's first jam shop, but soon realizes that the villagers, who are becoming more like friends the more time she spends with them, could also benefit from the illegal spellbooks that she and Kaz brought with them, and opens Caltray's first secret spell shop as well. This is a cozy fantasy read that touches on the themes of found family, trust, and knowledge throughout the book. Keela comes to Caltray determined not to rely on anyone, partly because of the stolen spellbooks she's hiding, but also because she spent so much time alone in the library that she doesn't have much practice interacting with people. But thanks to the welcoming nature of her neighbors on the island, she finds herself part of a community that treats her like family, something she hasn't experienced since her parents died years earlier. Keela eventually decides to share her secret about the spellbooks she came to Caltray with and her use of the magic in them to help the town, concluding that trusting anyone is a risk, but it's better than doing it alone. That trust is rewarded when her new friends immediately come to her aid when she needs it. The spell shop also tackles a theme that I've noticed comes up a lot in the fantasy genre, particularly with stories like this one where a revolution or rebellion of some sort is featured, and that's the theme that knowledge is power. There is a point early on in the book where Keela and Kaz are arguing about whether or not she should use the spellbooks they brought with them to help herself, and later the villagers, survive because the previous regime restricted the use of magic to the Empire's elite. Kaz argues that using magic could be dangerous, and Keela responds with, "Of course, knowledge is dangerous, but ignorance is even more dangerous." This was probably my favorite quote out of the whole book because it can apply to so much more than this fictional context. I love it when fantasy authors are able to subtly incorporate themes like this one in such a way the real life applications are clear because it gives the book so much more depth than it would have had otherwise. Including this theme made the book feel like more than just a cozy fantasy story for me, and it made me enjoy the spell shop that much more because of it. I really enjoyed all the characters in this book. They were funny, friendly, and welcoming from the very beginning. Bryn, Edie, Yelena, and Lauren all won me over almost instantly. I loved how they eventually did the same for Keela as well. It would have been so easy for them to be immediately suspicious of a newcomer when she and Kaz arrived on the island, and there definitely were a few characters in Caltray who were skeptical of the new arrivals, particularly because they came from the Empire's capital city. But the fact that they were so kind and welcoming and instead helped to put Keela at ease and made her realize that she had people to help her when she needed it, all she had to do was ask for it, was really heartwarming to read. But obviously, Kaz was the star of the book. I'm not sure if it's possible to write a character who's a talking plant into a story and not have him end up being the funniest character out of the entire cast. He and Keela have such a steady rapport that their bickering back and forth had me chuckling quite a bit while I read this book. He quickly became my favorite character because he was so much more than just a source of comic relief. He plays the role of Keela's conscience at times when it comes to using magic, but he also tries to get her to notice Lauren's obvious feelings for her, which is a pretty enjoyable thing to experience from the reader's point of view. The Spell Shop is as beautifully written as the art on its front cover. The author does such a great job describing the setting that you actually feel like you're on a magical island in a fictional world. I wanted to stroll down the stone streets of Caltray. I wanted to ride a merhorse with Keela and befriend a mermaid or a forest spirit as I was reading, and the writing made me feel like I could step inside the book and do just that. The only thing that was missing that would have been really helpful is a map of the book's fictional world that I could refer back to whenever a different place in the Empire was mentioned so that I could get a better sense of the world in which the story takes place. I know there are other books in this series, though, so maybe that's something that will come about in a later release. This book was such a well written, cozy escape from reality for me that it had me wishing that Caltray was a real place that I could actually visit, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the world this author created in future books in this series. I really connected with Keela the most as I was reading The Spell Shop. She's a book loving introvert who has a hard time asking people for help, which pretty much describes me to a T. I loved watching her slowly come out of her shell as she became more and more comfortable in her new home among her new friends. It tugged at my heart when she found herself in trouble and her neighbors immediately came to help her, no questions asked, even when she doubted that they would, because she was still learning to trust others. It was a little frustrating at times when it took her so long to eventually ask for help because she would also overthink everything first. But even that resonated with me because I do the same thing too. As a reader, it was really touching to watch her grow as a character with each turn of the page, and I enjoyed the journey that the author took me on right along with Keela to get to see how happy her life turns out by the end of the book. If you've read and enjoyed The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, then you might also enjoy The Spell Shop. Funnily enough, if you haven't read that one, you can also catch my review of it to see if it might be a good fit for you. I didn't realize until after I had read both books that the authors tackle some of the same themes just in different ways. The writing styles and settings are quite different between the two books, but the main characters both struggle with a lot of the same issues. And it was really interesting to see a side by side comparison of how each author handled those issues differently since I read the books one right after the other. But even if that book isn't quite your style and you're just looking for something that would be good to cuddle up with on the couch with a mug of coffee or tea this fall, then the Spell Shop is still worth checking out. Overall, I would give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a cozy fantasy romance with the perfect mix of magic that had me wishing some of its magical elements were real on more than one occasion while I was reading. The characters were engaging, and the world building was immersive and kept my interest from beginning to end. If you're looking for something magical to snuggle up with this fall, you should definitely check this one out. Is this one on your TBR or have you already read it? Let me know what you thought in the comments if you have. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content and to find out what's next. See you next time and happy reading!